serving with your wrist in a cast, and this is a bit of a story. In the 70s, I came across an article, which I didn't understand, where a writer was suggesting that if your wrist was in a cast, if your wrist was broken, you could serve at full velocity. I didn't know what it meant. And it was Don Kerr who explained to me, and I'll show you, a method of serving, and I'll put this cast on my wrist. But this led to the Whistler, which some of you are aware of, this gizmo we put on the racket that would measure angular momentum. And it was actually showing something about whether somebody was using their wrist, which you couldn't use if your wrist was in a cast, or whether they were doing something else. And this was a very long project. I think it's still going now. I'm interested in the live arm. But what this was really about was different styles of servers. Not saying that the one is better than the other, but I'm going to put this cast on my wrist, and I'm going to serve. And I wouldn't ask you to go out and break your wrist or get a plaster cast, but I've got a device with 2 metal stays in it that will totally fix my wrist. And this is kind of fun. And I'm going to tape it on really tight. And what it's doing is my wrist is now immobile. I can't bend the wrist. And so I'm going to show you I could serve with my wrist in a cast. And I want you to experiment with how you play tennis and whether this even makes sense. Or you can run this by your local coach or even one of the very good coaches on the internet. But let me see if I could get some serves over the net with my wrist immobile in this cast. And I'll even tighten it just a little more. And there's no trick to this. They think Aaron Crickstein served this way, if those of you remember that name. So I'm going to back up and hit a few with my wrist in a cast. Good luck, coach. That's a spin serve. I'll hit a little harder. And the idea is that there are a number of ways to play tennis and there's a number of ways to serve. But my own career as a student of the game took off from Don Kerr when he was explaining how this would work. And then when he built the Whistler, we even put the Whistler on Martina Navratilova's racket at one point. But as you work on your tennis, I want you to think about another way to serve were your wrist in a cast.